Hi there, my name's Joe. I'm just putting out a quick video today going through some rider evaluations and other thoughts I have leading up to the Fantasy Tour de France League starting with the Grand Depart for the Tour de France this Saturday. First thoughts I have here, I think that Pogacar and Philipsen are auto picks. I think everyone playing this game should have Pogacar and Philipsen on their team for the duration of the tour if they're both doing well. They are the two most expensive riders, so you can swap them out for any other rider in the game without having to make a double trade and sell someone else to free up stars. The next thought I have is that the GC space is just simply way too crowded for me to want to speculate on anyone besides Pogacar at the start of the tour. There's just so many good riders and so much uncertainty relating to injuries, people coming back from an injury, what form they're going to be in, and also what role all of the domestiques and super domestiques are going to be in. There's just way too many riders that are all fighting for the same points that are going to be awarded to the top couple of folks in the GC competition. I mean, we're talking about Yates and Vlasov and Hindley and Thomas and Bernal, and the list goes on. There's so many riders that are supporting other leaders that are potential double threats or triple threats or quadruple threats. I didn't mention Almeida or Ayuso. The list goes on. So I'm not ready to speculate on any of those riders quite yet. So I am much more confident picking up sprinters and versatile sprinters and a couple really strong stage hunters, folks that have just proven themselves in years past to be good at earning points in this fantasy league. And then I hope to trade one or two of those guys out in the first week or so for one of the GC guys, depending on who's doing well, who's established themselves. Also note, I'm not ready to take a risk on Jonas Vingegaard. He's just too much of a wild card for me. And also, I don't think he's going to be scoring a ton of points, even if he is in good form, until later in the tour. So I'm just not ready to pick up Vingegaard. And I don't expect that I'll pick him up unless he really surprises me in stages 1, 2, and 4. Next point is that there really are not very many good 5 cost riders. These are the minimum cost riders that usually round out a team full of all-star riders. And I'll get to that when we go through the full list of riders. I mentioned versatile riders with a good kick are the ones that I'm betting on in this first week. Someone like Wout van Aert, someone like Pedersen, someone like Pidcock. I think that these guys are versatile enough that they'll be contending multiple stages, and at least one or two of them are going to be in the contesting the flat sprints as well. And I think I'll be able to pick up enough points with these guys in the first couple of days just to buy me time until I figure out who I want to pick up after that. Also, other riders not shown on my team here that fall into this category include Magnus Cort, Ben Healy, even Van Gils, who's been doing really well and has identified that he wants to target stage 1, riders like that. All right, with that in mind, let me go through some rider evaluations. So at the top, Tadej Pogacar, already mentioned, he's an obvious pick. If you don't have him on your team, I don't know what you're doing. Put him on your team. I feel pretty similarly about Jasper Philipsen. I think he's far and away the best sprinter. I think he's going to be here until the end, which is not something you can say about very many other riders, because I think he's going to be pursuing the green jersey again. I'm not into Vingegaard, not ready to make that bet. Van der Poel, besides that 1 year that he took yellow on stage 2 in honor of his grandfather, he has not historically been a very good fantasy pickup, especially given he's costed as if we're playing fantasy Paris-Roubaix here, but we're not. We're playing fantasy Tour de France, and Van der Poel is lead out for Philipsen. He's not going to be earning that many points. Now, I could be wrong. He could surprise us all, take the yellow jersey on stage 1, but it's not a risk I'm going to take. Roglic, he is looking the best of the rest, in my opinion, outside of Pogacar, but I just don't think that I can bring myself to pick him up when he wasn't looking like his usual dominant self in the Criterium de Dauphiné, even though he did win it just barely. He lost time on the road to Jorgensen, and he only won by bonus points. And he also just crashes seemingly every Tour de France. He's crashed out of the last 2 or 3 Tours de France that he's contested. Evenepoel is someone that I could see doing pretty well Certainly, he's going to do well in the Stage 7 time trial. He might have a breakout week and be in the yellow jersey in the first couple of days, and he'll be someone I'll be looking at to very quickly scoop up onto my team if he shows that he's got good form in the first week. Yates, I think, is the best of the super domestiques, but again, I'm not going to pick him up until he proves himself. And also, we see that he is playing that double threat card for Pogacar more so than just a traditional super domestique role. And that's sort of my comments about all the other super domestiques. I'm not going to pick them up yet. I will pick them up if they, get into a breakaway and take the yellow jersey. Maybe I'll scoop them up to take those free 50 points every day for a few stages, but I'm not going to speculate on them yet. Van Aert, I think, is an excellent pickup. He's historically one of the best point scorers in the history of this fantasy game. Every year, even when he has a bad year like last year, he didn't win a stage. He still, when he dropped out of the tour on stage 18, he was still third highest point scorer in the fantasy league. He just scoops up so many different points in so many different categories. He did say yesterday in an interview that he thinks he's in the worst form ever coming into the Tour de France, but I don't know. I think he'd really like that yellow jersey on stage 1, and I think it's going to be a reduced bunch sprint that he'll be able to take a pretty good chance at winning. DeLee's looking pretty good. He could do nothing this tour. He could have like a Caleb Ewan tour, or he could be winning 3 stages and contesting a lot of non-traditional sprints as well as the flat sprints, and be fighting Philipsen for the green jersey. We'll see. I'm not going to bet on him until I see him do well. Skipping through some of the second tier guys. Pedersen is looking pretty good. Enough said there. Enric Mas, he falls into the same category as Carapaz and Buitrago. These are what I view third tier GC riders. Don't pick them up yet. If you find one that's really undercosted, like Johannesson or one of those guys that you want to pick up much later in the tour, great, but don't speculate on them yet. Pigcock has said outright that he wants to win stage 1 and take the yellow jersey, so we'll see. I'm betting on him. He just won the World Cup in, I forget where it was, the Mountain Bike World Cup. He looks to be in good form. We'll see. I'm going to skip through most of these guys because there's not anyone super noteworthy that I want to call out, except for Egan Bernal. Egan Bernal, I think, is not that third tier or third class of leader. I think he might actually be a big point scorer this tour, but again, I'm not ready to pick him up quite yet. Mohoric, avoid him. He always does well in the tour, but he always does poorly in the fantasy Tour de France. He's not consistent enough. He's not scoring points in a number of different ways, the way that someone like Wout van Aert does. He just wins in those breakaway stages where he gets into the league group. Not anyone else super noteworthy. Oh, I do want to mention G, actually. Sorry. G is one of the guys I expect I'll have on my team at some point this tour, but no need to speculate on him this early. Also want to call out Ciccone. He did have the flu a week ago, so it's unclear where he is form-wise, but I expect him to really start coming into his own in weeks 2 and 3 when the polka dot jersey lights up. So I think we've got time for him to get better. Stevie Williams is looking really good. Little bit overcosted for me to want to pick him up blind in week 1, but he could spike a win and find himself high up in the yellow jersey, and I'll pick him up for a couple stages. We'll see. I don't quite know what to expect out of him, but I think that he's going to have a good tour. Nilson Powless, same sort of thing. This might be the year he wins a stage. He might go for polka dots again. We'll see. I might pick him up later in the tour, as I've done the last 2 years, but I'm not going to speculate at the beginning. Cavendish, I think he will win his 35th stage, but I do not think he's going to be a good pick for the fantasy league. I just don't think he's going to be scoring points consistently enough. Haig could do well. I like Haig, but we'll see how his legs look in week 2. Magnus Cort is the next person that I think is actually a really excellent pickup. I was really debating putting him on my team. It's not too late for me to change my mind, but he absolutely is the kind of rider that's going to be benefiting from the new rules this year. The rules where you're awarded 1 point for every kilometer that your riders spend in the front breakaway. So Cort could be scooping up a lot of free points via that new rule. We'll see. In the 13-star category, the guy I like the best is Ben Healy. Uh, I, again, really tempted to put him on my team. I was thinking about selling Pedersen and replacing him with Healy and Van Gils, but I think that's just putting too many eggs in the stage one basket. It would be really great if I could pick the guy who wins stage one, whether it's Van Gils, Healy, Court, one of those guys. But I don't think they're going to be a consistent enough point scorer in the first week for me to really want to pick them up. But I could be eating my words here in a few days. On 12 stars, I really like Maxime Van Gils. I've mentioned him already. I think he is going to be doing very well this tour, and at some point in the tour, especially because he's only 12 stars, I expect he'll be on my team at some point. Just tentatively not on day one. We'll see. I might change my mind. Um, I like I like Cocard quite a bit. Cocard, even though he didn't win any stages and he had a somewhat average tour last year, he was the second most valuable sprinter by the end of the tour. He's just so consistent. He's always there contesting the sprint. He's never winning, not often in the top five even, but he's scooping up those 50 points, 60 points for sixth place, seventh place, eighth place, whatever. And he went for the intermediate sprints. He got in a couple breakaways and he finished third in the green jersey. So he could be someone to keep your eye on. We'll see what he looks like, what his form looks like on stage three. At 11 stars, there's actually a lot of riders that I really like. Um, I really like Lenny Martinez. He falls into that same category as Van Gils, where I expect he's probably one of the climbers I'm going to be picking up when the polka dot jersey competition starts to heat up. I think he's cheaper than Ciccone, but in that same category, and I think he's going to do well this tour. So we'll see. A lot of people have been talking about Alberto Bettiol. Uh, I don't know if I see it. He did just win national championships. People are talking about him for stage one. He's one of the short. He has one of the shortest odds for stage one. At the bookies. I don't know if I buy it. I don't know if I buy it. I don't know if he has a big enough sprint to be winning these stages that are hilly, yes, but and they're hard, but they finish flat most of them. So I don't know if I buy it, but he is certainly someone to look at the 11-star category. Fred Wright always does well. He does have a role to play for Bauhaus here, so I don't think he's someone I want to pick up in the blind. But Fred Wright, I wouldn't be surprised if he wins his first stage this year. Wout Poels always does well. Uh, week two, week three, he might be a good person to throw on your team, especially if you want to take a speculative strategy and come from behind in your league. He's someone to look out for. He's undercosted, so keep him on your radar. Gregoire, I think I skipped him. He was back a page or two. Gregoire is another person to look at. Similar category to Martinez. Yeah, I like him. I think he's a little bit undercosted. Campenarts, I don't think he's a great pick. Oh, did I miss him? Yeah, Campenarts. I don't think he's a great pick initially, but I wouldn't be surprised if he's one of the riders that we see as being most valuable by the end of the tour, just because of his likelihood of getting in a lot of breaks. I like Chris Nealons. Not much to say there. I like him. I think he's undercosted. Not going to pick him up right away. Marin Vandenberg, he is classified as a sprinter, so you got to be careful. You can only have three of those on your team. But I expect him to be in that similar category to Cockard, where he's going to be contesting all the sprints. He'll be there or thereabouts. I don't think he's going to win a stage, but he might be up there in terms of sprinters in the fantasy league just because of his consistency. We'll see. Finally, Danny Van Poppel, same exact story here. He does have a role to play for Roglic, but I expect him to have freedom in the sprint stages. So he is certainly undercosted for his ability. In the last year or two, he's been one of the most consistent sprinters when he is actually sprinting as opposed to leading someone out. Going down to 10 stars, I really like Paula Pera. Uh, do, 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 do. Where's La Pera? Here we go. Paul Lepera. He just won the French Nationals, I believe. He's on good form. He's been scoring a lot of points. He's someone to look out for. Um, I also like Stanislav Anielkowski. Where's he at? Oh, did he get removed? All right, we'll have to check on that. Oh, wow. Yeah, it looks like Anielkowski is not on the start list. My bad there. Um, I like Zimmerman as well. Zimmerman has done well the last couple of tours. Um, he could be someone that you want to pick up in week two. At 9 stars, a couple of riders I like. I like Brett Van Moor. I think he will be in a bunch of breakaways potentially. We'll see. He's just a little bit undercosted for my liking. I also like the looks of Sean Quinn. I know he's been coming back from injury, but he just won U.S. national championships, and he could be a good pickup as well. Simon Geschke is someone to keep your eye on, not so much for his ability as much as for his tenacity. Last year, he was really fighting hard for the mountains competition, even though he didn't end up winning it. He has targeted that multiple times in the past, so he might be someone that's getting in all the breaks in the mountain stages. So keep your eyes open for Geschke. At 8, I like Bergadeau. Bergadeau was actually one of the most valuable riders last year because he was cost at only 8 stars, but he was in a bunch of breakaways and came second in a stage and scored a bunch of points. He's the kind of rider who's going, if he does the same thing this year, he's going to be scoring a ton more points because of that breakaway point rule. So keep your eye on Bergadeau. I also like Hugo Uhl. He won a stage 2 or 3 years ago, and this might be the year that he spikes another win. All right, at 7 stars, there's only one rider that I really like, but I think he's the most undercost rider that I have found in the list this year. Jonas Abrahamsen is, I think he's ranked 80th in the world right now. He's got a decent kick. I know that he's involved with the lead out train for Christoph, but I think that he's the kind of rider that is going to be in a bunch of breaks and actually a really strong rider that will make those breaks potentially successful. And at only 7 stars, he's an excellent pickup. I've had him on my team throughout all of my brainstorming the last week here. I'm still not sure if I want to pick him up as a 7 cost rider, or what I currently have is I have an excess budget of 2 stars that I can spend after I make my first trade. And I've just stuck with 3 5 cost riders. If I am going to change anything before the tour starts, it's picking up Abrahamsen and probably getting rid of Alexis Renard. At 6 stars, the only person I like is Gachenard, and to be honest with you, I don't know anything about this dude, but Benji Nyssen from the Lantern Rouge Cycling Podcast said that he expects he's going to be in like 7 or 8 breakaways, so Benji seems to know what's going on with these lesser-known riders, so something to be aware of. Finally, at 5 stars, this is a little bit of a disappointment. We're looking at the only 6 riders that are the minimum cost. These are the only 6 riders that cost only 5. I did look at all of these riders in detail. In fact, let me pull that up. All right, so here we're looking at each of these 5 cost riders. I'm looking at which ones are eligible for the white jersey competition, who's a part of a lead out, what their specialty is, the number of wins they have, their ranking. You know, someone like Alexis Renard looks pretty good because he's eligible for the white jersey and he's the highest ranked of these 6. But he's the lead out for Coquard. He didn't score any points in the fantasy league last year. I don't get a great vibe about him. Grignard actually looks pretty decent. However, he's a young guy. However, he's classified as a climber, and I don't want to tie up a climber. For similar reasons, I'm not going to even consider Bram Welton. I can't tie up a sprinter on my team with a 5 cost rider. And Reinders also, I believe, scored 0 points in the fantasy league last year and isn't eligible for the white jersey. So really, I'm looking at these 2 guys, Nikias Arndt and Fabien Grelier. If I need to pick up a third, it'll be Alexis Renard. So these are my recommended 5 cost riders, but it really is a crapshoot. Any one of these guys could be decent. None of them are going to be great. All right, with that, I wish you all luck in building your final team. I'll probably post one more video once this team is finalized tomorrow. Not sure how useful it will be for you guys at that point, but in the meantime, if you have questions or if you just want to join the conversation, hop into my Discord channel. The link is in the description, and we'll be able to chat about the Fantasy League all through July. With that, have a good day. Thanks.